to the HaneyBiz Project with investorpreneur Mark Haney, coming to you from the Marquee Media Studio.
Welcome back to the HaneyBiz Project, brought to you courtesy of accounting firm Clifton Larson Allen and California Growth Advisors. I'm Mark Haney, and today I have the privilege of being joined by a national hero, a man who has logged over 1,200 hours in combat, Mr. Colonel Andrew Clark. And that's not how you say it either, Mr. Colonel. That doesn't even sound right. Colonel Andrew Clark. How you doing today, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Mark. It's great to be here.
And you want to be called Andy, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep, Andy's
okay.
fine. Yep.
So you are the man that oversees Beale Air Force Base. Tell us about what you do over at Beale.
Okay, so Beale is the home of the 9th Reconnaissance Wing as the primary air base wing unit. The 9th Reconnaissance Wing does reconnaissance. It's in the title. Employing a couple of different assets, high-altitude assets, the RQ-4 and the U-2 Dragon Lady, to collect images and signals and things of that nature for dissemination to national command authorities. We provide the intelligence products that people use.
So you have Beale right down the road from us here in Sacramento, but is part of your team deployed at all times?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. In fact, we have a number of geographically separated units all over the world, from the Pacific to Europe to the Middle East. So we like to say that the sun never sets on the 9th Reconnaissance Wing.
And is all that under your command then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Pretty good variety of things that you have to be great at, and that's what we talk about on this show: is how to bring out your very best. And you're helping bring out the very best of a number of young men and women. And when everything matters in the game, everything, life is on the line. Talk to us about how you groom these young people to take over and do such things.
In the 9th, the thing with our mission set is it's very unique to us. We're the only wing that does this in the world, literally. And so the airmen that are in that wing, we need them to be, on the cutting edge, to be firing on all 8 at all times. And we've developed a culture, I think, of innovation, of leaning forward, of trying new things, not being afraid of no, I like to say.
Yeah.
When somebody says no, that should never be the first time you hear that.
Well, you talk about developing a culture. How many people are underneath you in the operation?
About 7,000 airmen.
So you have to help drive the culture for 7,000 airmen. How is that done with them spread out all over the world?
So, we have the hierarchy, the chain of command, as we like to call it. So, it flows from the wing to the group to the squadron. So on down the different levels. And I think as a wing commander, it's imperative that you kind of set the tone. You provide the vision, but then you empower and you give the people the latitude to carry out that vision without, the micromanaging aspect of it. Give them the vision, and those airmen are so amazing that they can take the ball and run with it, and I don't ever have to think. Usually don't have to think twice about it.
Well, you use the term innovation, and we use that term in entrepreneurship on a daily basis. What's that mean at Beale?
So innovation at Beale, and that frankly, it's kind of a buzzword, if you will. But I think it just means not being afraid to try something new. Not being afraid to fail. And, if you have that different idea that kind of falls outside the norm or that isn't, the accepted standard, you shouldn't let that hold you back to try and push that forward.
Give us an example of a success story. And then when you have a success, how is that celebrated? In the private sector, we can give bonuses for high achievement. What happens over at Beale?
A lot of time, you can take one example was we've embedded medical professionals in one of our tenant units, one of the intelligence groups. We've mental health professionals and some chaplains and that, and that model is starting to become going to become the model of the Air Force in a lot of ways. Of instead of our folks having to go, people that are working 24/7, they're working shift work, they're doing the mission in place. Instead of having to go to the clinic in the middle of the night when it's closed, we bring those people to them, and that was, that was an example of innovation.
Okay, something simple, not extremely simple, but it seems kind of basic to plant the chaplain or the medical personnel with the people that need them most versus have to transport people back and forth.
Yeah, and what do we do with that? If it's something that's successful and it works well, it's called a best practice, right? And that's what it gets disseminated across the Air Force. with the military, we pride ourselves, and especially the Air Force, on service before self, right? So that is the reward. The fact that it was your idea, your team's idea, your squadron's idea. The fact that it spread across the Air Force, really, that's where the reward lies, and a way to do things better and to take care of our airmen better.
What are the biggest obstacles you run into? I have to imagine they're all over the board, but you kind of wonder, in entrepreneurship, we always think about what keeps you up at night, and many times it's around the people, it's around the mission, and you get concerned that it might not go as planned. But what keeps someone like you up at night?
Obstacles, or what keeps me up at night, a lot of times it's 7,000 airmen. And the personalities and their interests that obviously run the gamut with that many people. It's the individual, having to care for individual challenges as they come up. Trying to work through something I haven't seen or heard from before, and it happens every day. There's always something new that comes down the pike, and being able to react to that. But the thing is I have a team. It's not me doing it on my own. I have a team of folks at the wing and at the group at every level. That's there to assist me working through those problems, and I rely on them pretty heavily.
Well, 1,200 combat hours. You and I had talked about that earlier. That's a lot of time under pressure, and incredible pressure that most of us can't even understand. It makes me wonder about your leadership style, because you have that kind of in the trenches experience, yet now you're running the entire base.
Yeah, I think the experience has given me the mindset that we all in combat, right? Everybody plays a role, and all those roles are interdependent. We call it the joint force, working together, that kind of thing. So I think that experience of all those pieces coming together, everybody is a professional, everybody knows how to do their job really well. I think that has affected, personally, that's how I look at it, that I trust the guys and gals that are working for me. I know that we spent a lot of time, we spent a lot of money training them to do their job. So I really think, once you get out in the field and you get in a combat environment or non-combat, that's time to let them run with it and do the things that they want to do and perform at a level that they can perform at.
Well, thinking about when you're deployed, and you have so many now of your teammates that are deployed, and what happens to the family members during that time, the stress, the anxiety, and how do they get through that?
Yeah, that is the crux of it all, isn't it? I mean, our job is to project combat power. So there's always going to be folks deployed, and there's always going to be the families that are on this side. From my perspective, our job is to both prepare that member, the service member, to deploy, to be ready to do their job, but then also to take care of the family and their concerns when that deployed member is gone. And that, there's two sides to that. First of all, the deployed member has to be confident that his needs and his family's needs are being cared for. And then the family needs to know where to go when they have an issue or they need help with something, and just get through the deployment.
Do you see a bond between spouses? My son was deployed. He was in Afghanistan, and I just know that our family, we went back to basics during that time, and there were certain extremely close friends that we bonded with. But if we met somebody who at that time that his child was also deployed, it was like you were instantly close with that person. I have to imagine the friends that you make, even as civilians, during that intense time is just these are bonds that last forever.
Yeah, there's a unique sense of community between the spouses of deployed members, right? They're going through something that not most people don't understand at a very deep level. But on the other hand, you mentioned community. We are 80% of my airmen reside in the communities that aren't on the base. And we've seen a lot of very close involvement between our, the Beale community and the off-base community. And I think it's unique to be around an installation like Beale because they are exposed to, service members deploying, the families being here. So I think there's a better understanding in our community. And so those bonds are actually a little bit stronger between our civilian and military spouses as well.
Well, you think about a lot of times celebrating success here in the private sector. We throw parties, and you guys have a huge event where you get to show off what you do, a celebration of sorts for what you do over at Beale. Can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be the biggest event, biggest social, biggest community event we have on the record all year, and it's kicking off right as we speak.
Yes. So it's today. Starts at 9:00 out at Beale. What do we go out there? What do we see?
Okay, it's open to the public.
Okay.
Free admission. There's going to be multiple aerial performers. F-22 demo team. There's going to be a World War II B-25 and a World War II bomber and some other planes flying around, and a bunch of other demo teams. And then there'll be over 40 static displays of aircraft out there.
Wow.
But most importantly is all our airmen are going to be out there. They've been working on this literally for months and months and months, and this is finally a chance for them to get out there and show off their base and show off our Air Force, because this is our Air Force.
Yes.
So it's their chance to kind of give back to the community in some ways, and then kind of show off for them a little bit. So
what will that day look like? So the family comes out.
Yep.
You get a chance to see the aircraft in the sky.
Yep.
You get to meet the airmen. And do they stay all day? What can we really expect to experience?
Sure, yeah. Gates open up at 9:00.
Okay.
There'll be aircraft parked to go look at. There'll be concessions, food, and all that kind of thing. Some family activities and that sort of thing. And then around 11:00, we'll kick off the airborne portion, and that's about 4 hours of constant flying.
Wow.
Of
Okay.
different types of aircraft. There's going to be skydivers. There's going to be Army helicopters. It's you name it. It's going to be up in the sky overhead Beale. Weather's supposed to be awesome right now.
All
Keeping
right.
our fingers crossed. Yeah,
Looks good.
yeah.
Well, Andrew, I want to thank you for coming down, sharing your story, talking about what's happening right here in our backyard at Beale Air Force Base. Go out there today, Saturday, and check it out. Again, thank you very much for all you do, what you've done for our country, and the example that you and your team set for us every day. Next week, we are going to have an incredible show. We're going to have Mr. Lewis Stewart from the city of Sacramento joining us. When we return, I will share my takeaways and some closing thoughts about the truths of entrepreneurship. Join the revolution at HaneyBiz.com, brought to you courtesy of Ethan Conrad Properties and financial advisors, Stifel Financial. This is the HaneyBiz Project.